Hey Oscar, how are you? Hello, welcome. We are waiting to get started. I'll just give it a few more minutes. Welcome, Siddharth. Can you hear and see me okay? All right, welcome, Yasin.
Thank you so much.
I don't know where people are going to be joining in from. In my infinite wisdom, a month ago when I scheduled this call, I didn't realize I would be competing against the Super Bowl. So for those of you who are joining, you are the motivated. So excited that you made that trade-off. Although at least this starts after the halftime show, so we all got to hear Kendrick.
Yeah, that's true. I'm actually just getting out of the sports bar I was at right now.
Okay. So listen, I'm expecting that this is going to be a smaller crowd than I've had in the past because of this conflict. So what I'll probably do is I will host the same call again so that we can do a bigger call. But if you're on this call, this basically becomes, for those of you who are joining, a customized sort of walkthrough. So I will still go through all the content. I'll do it in an abbreviated manner. And this way, you can consider this a way for you to ask your specific questions. And we don't have to take the full hour.
Definitely, that'll be great.
All right. So I'll give it 2 more minutes. So I'm on the West Coast. So when it's 6:05, then we'll get started.
Great. Where are you at?
So I'm outside of San Francisco.
Oh,
East Bay, maybe 30 minutes outside of Oakland.
oh, okay. I used to live out there before I moved to New York.
Okay, very nice. And I see there's a Siddharth. You're on as well. Where are you calling in from? Oh, okay, Bay Area. You're local. Excellent. Good, good, good.
Did Did you go to school out there as well?
No, so I married a California girl, and
Oh, okay.
that's how I ended up in California. I went out to school, University of Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and then I did
U of
my
A?
MBA at Booth in Chicago.
Oh.
So we were there for a while and had our first child. And at that point, she's like, "Listen, this 9 months of snow, it's not gonna cut it." So we moved
I
to the
feel
Bay
that.
Area, and it's been like 15 years now. Blink of an eye.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
That's really cool. So Booth, I actually wanted to hear your experience on that. How did you enjoy your MBA experience at Booth? Because that's one
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
for sure. So
schools I was thinking about
why don't we
applying.
get started? And like I said, I'm gonna go through these quickly. It looks
Oh,
like it's
okay.
gonna be the two of you. Oh, there's more people joining. Hey Shailesh, I actually know you from before. So
Fine.
Shailesh, it's
Yes.
going to be a small group
Yeah.
because of the conflict with the Super Bowl here in the US. So I'll reschedule this call as well. But let me go through the content that I had, and then we can go through some specific customized questions that you all may have. So just by way of introduction, my name is Faisal Khan. I went to Booth myself. I helped with the admissions process there, and I've been doing admissions consulting for over 15 years. Very proud of having helped people get into all the top 5 schools. And what I'm most proud of is the scholarship. I really try to focus on helping those that come from unique perspectives and backgrounds, non-traditional, or parts of the world where they're just not large applicant volumes. I'm from South Asia, Pakistani myself, and so I'm sort of interested in making sure that everyone gets access to this amazing degree that opens up so many different things and so many different opportunities for people. So you all, if you're joining this call, you're going to be applying in the 2025 cycle, and the unfortunate reality is everyone's super talented, and most of the applicants are going to be denied admission. So what I wanted to talk to you all about is, I'm sure you've all set your New Year's resolutions. You want to apply to business school this year. I want to lay out a timeline that you should think about following, and then also drop a few nuggets along the way. My plan is to have this call once a month, so that every month you can get a little bit of more sense of, okay, so what should you be doing now? What should you be doing now? What are tweaks that we can make? So as I look back to this last application year, 2024 was pretty brutal. I helped quite a few clients, both from the Leland platform and my private practice, and there were record application volumes. What I have on the right side of the screen, if you're able to see, are Wall Street Journal articles. One that came out in October that's talking about application volumes soaring. So they hit 10-year highs. And at the top schools, there was a 30% increase year over year. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is just general anxiety in the economy. The global economy hasn't been doing well. Unfortunately, there's been wars breaking out around the world, and so a lot of candidates are looking at taking 2 years out, investing in themselves, and then coming back into the workforce when things are a little bit better. The other thing that's happened are everyone has gotten better at taking tests. And so the test scores have been creeping higher. For those of you who've taken the GMAT or the GRE recently, you may have gotten your percentiles back and realized, wait a second, I missed like 3 questions, and my GRE score, my percentile is like 80th percentile. And that's because everyone is scoring a lot higher. And then the last thing that relates to that article snippet on the bottom, where even Harvard MBAs, I shouldn't be saying even Harvard. Harvard is no different than any other top business school. It should really say all top MBAs are struggling to land jobs. And that's what that's doing is it's causing concern in business school career offices to make sure that people who are getting admitted have a clear idea of what they want to do in the future with their MBA, and aren't just trying to take 2 years to just kind of explore and learn and add to their knowledge base. That's all great, but you have to convince the admissions office that you have a little bit more of a path laid out. And so those are some of the mistakes that you're going to have to work to avoid. Make sure that you have a clear story and that you're able to articulate it. You have to have specific themes that differentiate you from the applicant pool. Make sure that you try to take the test a couple times. The higher the score, the better. Every little bit is going to help you. It's going to lower the hurdles. And make sure you know your path and are able to tell the school that, listen, I have a plan, and an MBA from that specific business school is a critical part of that plan. And here's how I'm going to execute on everything once I have an MBA from your institution. So I know all of you are super accomplished. You've had great careers, but the fact is that this pedigree is getting lost in the noise. And so, as an admissions officer, what I am now trying to do is craft a well-rounded class. And that's going to be a biggest hurdle to overcome. So, if you're part of finance, or want to go into finance, or want to go into consulting, you have to tell the school that there's something different about you that's going to help set you apart. Remember, the applications are read quickly, and that's going to be even worse now that the application volumes are up. There's just premium on time for the adcoms. And so they're reading applications on their commutes, they're reading them, when they get in with their cup of coffee, and you have to be able to get your message across very, very quickly and want them to learn more about you. So keep that in mind as you start your application process. So the way you do that is have this clear vision, and I'm repeating some things that I've mentioned earlier, where have your clear vision, have your clear goals, know why an MBA is going to help you, and how that specific business school is going to get you there. So this is a way, I've laid out a little bit of a timeline for those of you that are starting your application and want to hit submit by the end of round one. So starting with March, right? Approaching mid-February. So I've started my timeline in March. You really should be shortlisting your schools and starting on your elevator pitch. This is the 5-minute spiel. If you were in an elevator with the director of admissions, what is it that you would tell them to convince them to admit you? And make sure you're starting your networking strategy in March. And I'll go into each of these in a little bit more detail. In April, you should be beginning work on your essays, drafting version ones. You should be thinking about how you're going to position yourself to each school. Keep working on your resume, continue your networking. By May, your school list should be locked, because now you really need to get deep into the networking, and your essays now need to start to become customized to each school. So by that time, there really shouldn't be any doubt about what your top reach school is, what your target schools are, and what your safety schools are. And in June, now you're grinding. You're working on your essays, you're finding your resume, you're continuing your networking. As you head into July, start sending out your recommendation letter requests. You want to give your recommenders a month or two to complete their part of the bargain. Make sure you're visiting schools if you're able to do so. Logistically, financially, if this is possible, please do so, because it'll help you refine your essays. You'll be able to talk about specifically how sitting in the quad or attending classes or meeting with students, how light bulbs went on, and how they reinforce what it is that you are actually trying to communicate in your essays. As you hit the tail end of summer, this is when you're going to be getting to the finish line. So start polishing your essays in August, final school visits, complete your networking. And then in September, this is when the deadlines are starting to hit. So make sure your recommenders have done their job and that they're hitting submit. So I'll talk a little bit about the things I asked you to focus on in March. So starting next month, which is, think about the schools that you're going to be applying to. In all the years that I've been doing this, those individuals that have come out most satisfied are the ones who focused on the fit and picking schools that they knew were going to align with their career goals, rather than they were in the top 5, they were in the M7, they were in the top 10. So think about which schools specifically align with your career goals. Think about how you've gotten to know them. It can't just be a website scrape or reading about it from a blog post. How are you specifically engaging with the schools? Are you reading journal articles that the professors have written? Are you listening to podcasts from that school? Anything that you can do to communicate your in-depth knowledge of that school is going to help set you apart, because I guarantee you 99% of your peers are not doing this. So this is a simple, easy way for you to set yourself apart. Then also in March, you should be working on your elevator pitch. And so this I talked to you about earlier in the timeline. An elevator pitch is basically insert the content in the blanks, right? So school X, you should admit me because I want to, long-term career goal. And in order to do so, I need to first short-term career goal. Now is the perfect time for me to do that, because, okay, what's that critical reason? And that school, your school, is the perfect fit for me because explain the why. And if admitted, I would add to your school by, okay, why you? It sounds simple, but you have to spend time on this. Beat it up, beat it up, beat it up, because this is going to be the essence of your application. Every single document that you submit to the business school, whether it's your resume, whether it's your recommendation letter, whether it's your essay, they all have to align with your elevator pitch. You'll never submit the elevator pitch in anything, but this is your true north. This is what you're going to use to measure everything that you create against, to make sure that it's in alignment and it's constantly reinforcing your story. So think about this. You may already have some sort of an idea of your long-term career goal. Maybe you want to start your own company, but what are the intermediate steps that you have to take in order for you to start your own company? And then why is an MBA critical versus you just staying employed in your current workplace? This is what I was mentioning earlier when I was assessing what happened in 2024 and all those Wall Street Journal articles. Business schools want to make sure that you know what your path is. Everyone knows that there's no magic crystal ball and you can't tell the future, but adcoms still want to hear from you how you're planning to address the journey that you're about to undertake. So make sure in March you're working on your elevator pitch. And then the last thing I would say that you should be working on in March is crafting your networking strategy. So it's going to be important. You don't have to name drop in your essays, but it is important to talk to the admissions teams and let them know that you've done your research. So who is it that you're going to target for your informational interviews? Is it the leader of the specific student club that you're interested in at that business school? Is it someone with a background like yours? Is it someone who went to your undergrad, who then went on to that business school? Or is it someone who's working in the field that you aspire to, and that got an MBA from that school? These are all valid candidates, but you have to create a networking strategy and begin outreach. So is it LinkedIn? Are you going to be emailing them? Are you going to be asking for introductions? This takes a long time. And so you have to be thinking about how you're going to be approaching your networking strategy. For those of you who've looked for a new job and network to do so, it's the same process that you have to think about here. It's going to take hours a week, sending emails, sending messages, but when you land those 30-minute conversations, they're going to be gold mines for ways that you can refine your application. And heck, if you have a really good interaction, don't be surprised if those alums turn around and send a message to the business school and say, hey, I just spoke to so and so, they're a solid candidate, and when their application comes in, please give them another look. So in March, be working on your networking strategy. So those are the big things that you need to be thinking about for next month as you start off your application journey. All of you are early in the process, which is great. You're smart. And heck, if you're on this call, you're even smarter because you're giving up a Super Bowl game for those of you in the US to listen to me go on. I wanted to add a few bonus thoughts. I had reached out to some of you earlier and asked about if any of you have started writing essays. The reason I want to bring this up is you may think you're a really good writer, which is great. It's going to help the writing process, but business school essays are unique. And so I have an example of a hook that one of my clients started with, and I wanted to just kind of walk you through how to think about essay writing as you start putting pen to paper. And here she's talking about her long-term career goal, which is all about she wanted to go work in the aesthetic space. And she wants to talk about being a global general manager of a skincare brand and wants to introduce more products. It's great. She's conveying all the right facts. And when she's answering the YMBA essay question, this is a way of approaching it. But when I started asking her to create her elevator pitch and help me understand why she wanted to do this and where she came up with this realization that she wanted to work in skincare, she talked a lot about her mother had been admitted to hospital, and she was taking care of her mother. And it was the little skincare routines that made things for her mother feel normal. And so I was like, well, why don't you just start with that, right? Personalize your goal. Talk about something that's going to make this busy adcom stop in their tracks, and pay attention. And so we came up with this silly line about shaving your legs, right? And it's kind of a funny thing, but it's a way to then lead into why it's important for this applicant to really focus on skincare, especially for women that come from underrepresented parts of the world, where the major brands aren't really paying attention and creating custom products for them. And so this is what we use to launch her theme and her essays. So again, it's early right now. If you go back to the calendar I displayed, this is not something that I would recommend you start doing until like April or May, until after you've got your elevator pitch done. But it's a way to think ahead and think about how you could really create some solid writing. I have another example here from someone who's on the call and will remain unnamed. Thank you for sharing. And they're a great writer, right? You can tell again from the way they're thinking about um, uh, language and the way the words interplay. But as you do a count of all the words, that's almost 100 words that are being used to articulate this concept. Every word matters in a business school essay. Word count is golden. For some of the schools, you're going to have zero space, and that's a business skill. You've got to be able to convey your thoughts in a brief, concise way, and then move on. And so the version below is saying the same thing, but it's been trimmed, and it further leads the reader into this individual's background. So not only are they talking about the German language and why they were attracted to it, but they're using that cultural sort of influence to launch into their career background. And as an investment associate at Fidelity, they, et cetera, et cetera. So just bonus thoughts, nuggets that I just wanted to throw in here as you're thinking about the overall timeline. So let me pause over here and we can go into questions because like I said, I wanted to get through this quickly with the small group and give everyone plenty of time to ask what's on their mind. So was it Yasin? Was it you were asking a question earlier?
Yeah, yeah, I put a question in the chat. So I'm applying for deferred enrollment in April,
Okay.
and I was wondering how does that timeline apply to me? I already have my referrals lined up. I did do some networking with alumni of the the respective schools I'm applying to. But right now I'm prepping to take the GRE and
Okay.
also prep it and then working on prepping my essays.
Yeah, so the timeline I'd shown you was an ideal timeline, right? If
Yeah.
you had all the time in the world, and in your case, you're a deferred candidate, so you've clearly done much of the work. So the deferred MBA timelines are going to be early to mid-April, depending on the school.
Mhm.
So at this point, you should be well along in your draft of the essays, and you should be heads down just working on refining. And as a deferred MBA candidate, all the same rules apply. On top of that, you have to be able to communicate why it is that the timing is right for you, right? Why not go
Mm,
into the workforce and then come back and get an MBA? What is it? What are the risks that you'll be able to take as an admissions officer? That's what I'm going to be looking for. Like, why?
yeah.
He's a smart guy. Like, why doesn't he just go get some work experience? What is this going to enable him to do? And you and I obviously haven't chatted before this, so
Mhm.
if it's you're starting your own business or you want to go work at this risky small company that's doing disruptive things, those are those are legitimate reasons to apply for a deferred MBA application. But the timeline is absolutely okay. At this point, the recommendation requests should be out. Your recommenders should be writing
Oh, so
or
they
soon
should
begin
be
to write.
okay. Because I sent them a heads up like earlier in November.
Okay.
And they agreed to do it, but I told them it was in April. So should I be letting them know like now to start prepping
Yeah,
for
so I
the
would say out of courtesy, and this is true of not just deferred, but for full-time programs as well. Out of courtesy, you should plan on giving your recommenders a month. They're busy
Okay.
people, they have their own personal lives. It allows them to come back to you with questions. Hey, what if I position things this way? It depends on your relationship with your recommender,
Mhm.
but you should give them a month, right? So give them the month of March. So I don't mean to cause panic. If you gave them a heads up in November, now would be the time to reach out to them and say, hey, here's my updated resume. Here's some early drafts of my essays that I've written so you can see how I'm positioning myself.
Okay.
And here's some of the attributes of the school that are a great fit for me and that I'd like to highlight. Please make sure that you're registered with the school and mentally
Okay.
start writing in March.
Okay. I haven't started writing my drafts for my essays yet, so that's something I need to get on ASAP.
You should. That I would say you need to do because the writing takes a really long time.
Mhm.
It's an incredibly introspective process. The MBA application is draining. Those essays are not easy to answer. And remember, you're competing against some talented peers. And
Yeah.
so it's going to take some time to beat up. It's the analogy I use is like you're creating a sculpture, a statue, right? You're going to chip away, chip away. That first version is never going to look like the version that you would feel proud about submitting. So you just got to keep refining, keep revisiting until you're ready to hit submit.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Other questions, Siddharth, any questions from you or Salesh?
Yeah. Hi, Faisal. So my question is like you said that from April, like one needs an elevator pitch even while connecting or networking. So I want to know what's the difference between this elevator pitch while we are networking and the elevator pitch we would be using in the interview, and should both the elevator pitches be same, or it can develop over the months?
That's a really good question. There's one elevator pitch, right? That's your North Star. Like, what is it about you? What is your career goal? What are your short-term, long-term career goals? Why is an MBA critical? And what's unique about you, right? Why should the school admit you? That's not
Mm-hmm.
going to change. Doesn't matter what forum you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what you can do is highlight different parts of that depending on the situation you're in. So, if you're in the networking process, you may choose to emphasize your short-term career goal with the person you're speaking with because they also ended up doing the same thing
Mm-hmm.
after business school, and ask them why they chose the school they chose.
Mm-hmm.
But in your interview, should you be invited to interview, there you're going to be asked why an MBA. And so the elevator pitch still stays true. It's the same elevator pitch, but now you're zeroing in on why an MBA. What are those missing skills in your portfolio that only an MBA is going to fulfill? So the elevator pitch stays the same, but the components that you highlight, those are different.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions?
I had a question. Sorry.
Yeah.
Um, so I've been trying to figure out do you know any like resources for essay writing that I can look into? I was looking into like the coaches um at Leland, but quite honestly, it's a bit out of my budget. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking if you had any more like budget friendly um things I can look into.
Yeah, so it's not, I totally understand it's not easy to sign up with an MBA coach. They, the best thing I would recommend you do perhaps is consider hourly engagements with
Mm.
Leland coaches. So at least the way I would recommend is if you've written your essays and you've gotten like version 3 or 4 done, right? Maybe sign up with a coach for an hour or 2 hours so that they can review your content and give you red lines. And then you
Mhm.
go away and you work on it for another couple versions, and then you come back with version 6 or 7 to reassess. That would be maybe a more budget friendly, cost effective way to engage with the coaches on Leland. there's a lot of experience on the Leland platform. I can't speak to everyone, but for example, myself, like I've been an admissions officer
Hmm.
and I've been doing this for 15 plus years. So it's, maybe think about it as an investment in yourself. And if you're able to get an hour of someone's time with that experience, it's going to pay off in refining your writing. In terms of other resources online, I mean, you can Google, but I try not, even I don't share old clients' writing content because I find it's of limited help. It has to be customized to you, right? It has to be your unique voice when you
Yeah.
write your content. So mileage varies, but you can see if there's something available on a couple different websites. You'll find though that most of them will direct you to think about yourself, your goals, your
Hmm.
whys, and try to answer the essays in that manner. Yes, and
Okay.
what undergrad are you at?
Berkeley.
Berkeley. Okay, so solid school. You clearly had to clear a significant hurdle to distinguish yourself. Um, the essays had to reflect that, and the fact that you've been at Berkeley, you've probably been working on your writing
Hmm.
for a little bit through classes that you've taken. So don't worry too much about the prose or the poetry of the essay. Ultimately, it's a business document.
Yeah.
And really think about, just boil things down to the essence. Like, what is it that an MBA from that specific business school is going to do for you? Why is that the slingshot
Hmm.
that you need? And you can, if any of you find that you can copy and paste your essay for one school to another, that's a sign that there's still more work to be done, right? You should
Okay.
not be able to copy and paste an essay from one school to another.
Hmm. So they have to
There
make
may be
it.
sections, right? Like the hook, the intro,
Hmm.
sure, of course. Like that's just you. Nothing's going to change about you from school to school. But the body of the essays, you should not be able to copy them from one to the other.
Okay. I wanted to be really candid with you and just get your perspective. I'm starting this process a bit late, to be honest with you. I just came from a study abroad trip. I was in Singapore, and I'm starting to work in New York, and also trying to manage the the process. And I just wanted to get your insight if a deferred enrollment would be a right move or not, because right now I'm prepping for the GRE. I signed up for the Leland GRE boot camp. I mean, also I need to still get my essays and get all that in check. The HBS admission deadline is April 8th, and then or no, Stanford GSB is April 8th, and then HBS is 23rd. So it's like, do you think,
2 months.
yeah.
Listen, you're going to be the best judge, and this is true for full-time applicants too. So for the others on the call, submit when ready. Like, don't rush.
Hmm.
The advice I give my clients is, admissions officers, we're trying to admit people. We're trying to admit applicants. Don't rush us into a no, right?
Hmm.
So if we see something that we can tell not enough thought's gone into it, they haven't spent the time. Meanwhile, all these other applicants have, it's an easy ding. It's an easy reject.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you're not going to have the time because you have to wrap up your academics and other constraints, or for those of you who are applying to a full-time MBA program, your job is demanding and you're close to the deadline, you're not going to be able to hit it, punt, right? It's easier for a full-time applicant because they can go from round to round. For
Yeah.
a deferred candidate like you, it's a little bigger of a deal because if you don't apply deferred, by definition, you have to wait a few years because you have
Yeah.
to go get that work experience, 3 to 5
Yeah.
year work experience before applying again as a full-time student. So it's a higher stakes, but it's still what, maybe what you can do is,
I
rather than applying
graduated.
to 5 deferred MBA programs, apply to 2, right? Like
Yeah.
really make sure you you pick the right two and you spend time and get them really, really solid. And that's one way to lessen the
Yeah.
burden on yourself.
Yeah, that was my plan. I'm applying it too. I was gonna apply to GSB and HBS, just because I was like, if I'm gonna really dedicate my time right now, it should be to like the schools that I think I'm gonna see that I would want to see myself in right now.
Yeah.
I did graduate in December, so right now I'm working full time and
Got it.
studying for the GRE as well as trying to prep my essay.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. I'd say don't walk away from the process. Go ahead, submit the application. And if it's two schools, it should be doable.
Okay.
Yes, you've got the GRE, you've got a full-time job, but see if you can thread that needle, because otherwise it'll be okay, but it will
Hmm.
require you to postpone that MBA for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, others, if you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, what I would say is I'm going to reschedule this webinar as well. I'll host it again for the rest of Leland. So if you see the same thing pop up from me, you've been through it once, just wait for my March session, I guess. If those of you who are applying to the full-time program, if you are interested, just grab a screenshot or a picture of this coupon, which will give you 500 off of my any tier that I offer on Leland. You can read my reviews on Leland. I joined Leland recently. I want to say it's not even been in a year. So I don't have that many reviews, but if you're familiar with Poets and Quants, that's another really good website for those of you who are prepping for an MBA. I'm listed there, and those reviews go back over a decade. So you can go through and see the types of clients I work with. The last thing I'll just say is, if this was helpful, please, please, please leave a star rating or review. That really, really helps raise my profile and bring this content to more people. And feel free to reach out. Now this connection is established. Send me any questions that you have, and I'm happy to be a resource for all of you. So with that, thank you so much. I might still be getting you back in time for the game. I'm checking my cell phone. I won't give away the score. Yeah, we're still in the fourth quarter. So enjoy. And I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much, Faisal. Really
Take
Thank
care.
appreciate
you.
it.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.